we're in Patura Da'aba. We weren't able to meet last week, I think, right? Last week we weren't here. We're in Nun Aleph. So he says over here, "Ube'omrecha ma'arba kanfot ha'aretz." So first of all, we learned 2 weeks ago that a person, when he says the Shema, there are two Shmuot over here, but the Shmuah that's accepted is that you have to put, especially if you're from Kain and Hevel, which most Talmidei Chachamim are, because they're Bechinat Chum, Chasadim and Gvurot, Chokhmah, Binah, Chasadim and Gvurot, right? So since you're from most Talmidei Chachamim, as Shar Gilgulim says that, most people are from Chasadim and Gvurot, so they have, because we're Metaken Chet Etzadat. So therefore, you have to be makpeh to do what's for Shorish Kain in heaven, right? So you got to put the talit on your shoulders, at least by the time you get to the right before Shema, Ahavat Olam. That's what we did 2 weeks ago, right? Most people are from the Chasadim or Gvurot. That means everybody has Chub and Chug inside them. Chub is Chokhmah, Binah, Chasadim, Gvurot. But in Adam HaRishon, we're more connected to the Chasadim and the Gvurot, right? That's why I remember I taught you guys, I think 2-3 weeks ago, that the Rashash says that these days of Sfrat Omer is the shorish lekol Hashana kula. Even though everything is decided on Rosh Hashanah, but the shorish of everything is in Sfrat Omer. We have another 19 days left to these very special days. Today is the 31st day of the Omer. So he says that because everybody's inyan of the Etz Hadat Tovera, right? And the Etz Hadat, which is B'zichinat of Chasadim and the Gvurot, that's what's mitpashet inside Zah, the partzuf of Zah, which is the B'chinat of the Zachar, which is what all men are connected to, that Mida, that partzuf. So therefore all of our Voda is in that. And people who know, or even if you don't know, but you have a feeling that you are, you have to make sure to put your talit on your shoulder, B'chinat Chasadim, and B'chinat Gvurot. Even though the Chasadim and Gvurot are really supposed to be in the moach, but since the sin of Adam HaRishon, he made it fall down to the Ktefayim. That's a very, right, we never explained it, but in the sin of Adam HaRishon, there were 8 pgamim. 8 pegams. It's listed in Shar Psukim. It's been translated by Pinchas Winston. He translated the Sefer. The same rabbi who translated Shar Gedulim, he also translated Shar Psukim. So in Shar Psukim, in Parshat Bereshit, he lists 8 pegams that Adam HaRishon did by eating from the Etz Hadat. So he says, because we're Bechinat Kain v'Hevel, and the smallest action needs to connect to that aspect of Kain v'Hevel, and one of that is putting the talit on the Ktefayim. Katef Yamin will be Hevel, Katef Small will be Kain. Okay? Just as a side point, the Ari HaKadosh says in Shar Gedulim that a person who's Bechinat Kain, when he makes a pegam, he's also pogem b'Hevel. But a person who's been Hevel, Chasadim, not necessarily is pogem in the Gvurot.
Because Kain Kiva Hevel, that's why?
That's just a symptom of what happened. But the real reason is because the Chasadim is always mitlabesh inside the Gvurot. Just like the Chokhmah always reveals itself when it clothes itself in Binah, the right column is always inside the left column. That's the true harmony, that's the true peace between the two parts of him. Right? But when you're just in the Chasadim, you're just pogem in yourself. But since when you're in the Gvurot, you're also pogem in what comes out of you. So therefore, Shorish Kain, usually there's a big achizah shel achitzonim. And the Shorish Kain, that's where the Klipot always look to catch those neshamot. Nadav Avihu, Rav Chaim Vital, Matatiyahu, the whole story of Hanukkah, Shimshon, Abaye versus Rava. Okay. Nun Aleph, continuing. Ube'omrecha ma'arba kanfot ha'aretz. When you say the words ma'arba kanfot kol ha'aretz, look at the lashon over here. Ma'arba kanfot kol ha'aretz. Some sidurim, they cut out the word kol ha'aretz. Kol. That's a mistake because the Ari HaKadosh if you look in Patorat Da'aba, he's quoting the Shar Kavanot here. He says you have to say Ma'arba Kanfot Kol Haaretz. Even though, if you look at the pasuk before in the bracha, it already said Kol. And it's like repetitive. Rabbi Yaakov Yosef, Zichrono Livracha, Zecher Livracha, he said you cannot ask a kasha on the Girsa of the Ari. Because the Girsa that he had was the Girsa that he used. And he wouldn't have made a mistake in the Girsa. So even though in the Dikduk wise it doesn't make sense, in the literature, in the grammar, it doesn't make sense to say Kol twice. But since the Ari says you have to say Kol Haaretz, again, a second time Kol, you have to make sure to say it. One of the famous Sidurim we have over here, I'm not going to say which one, it omits that word. It's very important to say that word always. In Avodat HaKodesh, for example, the darker Sidur, it has it. Because he's very makpid to say exactly the Girsa of the Rashash, which is the Girsa which is our Kavanot. Okay? What is it? Tikaven ki im bechan dalet kanfot atzitzit shel hamalchut. What's ma'arba kanfot? He says those are the 4 knafot, the 4 sides of the tzitzit shel hamalchut. So when you're doing that, you're basically connecting to the malchut, and you're bringing them together. And she's called Eretz. That's why it's the malchut. Like kaptzam yachad b'yotam mefuzarim. The malchut's bechinot, aspects of the malchut, is always disconnected. There's a chaos in the Bechina of the Malchut. By bringing them together, you're bringing a harmony between the Malchuyot, the Arba Partzuvim of the Malchut. Therefore, you must bring up the tzitzit on your shoulders. And then you connect and you bring together the 4 tzitzits, the 4 sides of your beged, the gadol, and your left hand. Why the left and not the right? Malchut bismala. The malchut is always on the left side. It achdat b'shorshab misham. Her shorish, the midah of malchut, the shorish is in the left side of zah. It's a mashal. But the point is, we have to connect to the mashal. So too, whenever I taught you guys that the tefillin shel yad is the keter of Rachel, of the Shekhinah, so too when I pick up the tzitzit, I have to be with my left to connect the tzitzit to my left side under the chazeh, which is where the lev is, because that's the shorish of the malchut. V'taniach yadcha smalit b'yota ochezed dalet tzitziyot keneged halev, and it has to be on the lev. Not some people they hold like this, some people they hold like this, some people they just hold. You have to hold it on the lev. It doesn't say al halev. What does he say? Keneged halev. Even if it's like this, it's keneged halev. But it has to be keneged halev. I'm a little machmir. When I do it, I always to the left. It's also a sigura. I don't know if he's going to bring it down over here. You should never have a left problems. Right? Because 8 times 4 is 32. So the Ari says that you should never have problems with the liv. So it opens up the spiritual shefa. So therefore the physical also won't have an issue, right? Because over there, that's the source of the malchut. But when I say that tefillah, sometimes the guy is Lo me'olamim, he says over here. That's where you can let go. It got the shefa, that means it doesn't need your CUI anymore. It doesn't need your help. That's it already in V'yatziv v'nachon v'kam v'yashar. Okay? But you have to hold it over there the whole Shema. The whole time it has to be over there. Nun bet, uvanu v'charta mikol am v'lashon, da. What does that mean? And you chose us from every... We're still in Ahavat Olam. Da, this is very important. Ki, dalet mitzvot aseh, tzarich adam lekayem b'chol yom shemini tzchal. There's 4 remembrances that you have to do every day. 4 zechirot. V'em dalet zechirot haktuvim b'torah shetluim b'zichirat halev. What are they? After tefillah we say 10. Ari says there are 4. What are they? Aleph, Ma'amad Har Sinai, Kala Torah, remembering that we got the Torah, as it says, Yom Asher Amata B'Chorev, and it says right after, Pen Tishkach, do not forget. So So the Ari is learning, pen tishkach is a lo ta'aseh. From the lo ta'aseh, we learn an aseh, that you have to remember it. Don't forget means, how do you not forget if you always remember? So number one, you have to remember Har Sinai every day. Number two, wait a second. And this is one of the 248 mitzvot the Ramban counts. Not the Rambam, the Ramban. Zichira shniya, zachor el asher asa lecha Amalek. Every day you have to remember, say it, bapeh. That's what you remember. What Amalek did to us? Shlishit, zachor el asher asa Hashem Elokecha le Miriam. Remember what God did to Miriam. She said Lashon Hara, and she got the tzara. V'hi mitzvah shlishit. What's the fourth one? Zachor et hayom hazeh she'yasata b'Mitzrayim. That's the fourth one, but it's written fourth in the Torah, even though we always say it first, to remember that Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim. So Mitzrayim, Har Sinai, Amalek, Miriam. Four things you have to remember every day physically. That means you have to mamash remember it. Say, I remember this and this happened. V'im mitzvat aser revi'it, and this they're connected the four kanfot. The four kanafot that we take, that's connected those four zechirot. והנה ארבע מצוות עשה וארבע זכירות אלו הם כנגד ארבע ימים טובים שיש בשנה. These four זכירות are connected to the four ימים טובים that we have in a year, says the Ari HaKadosh. And what are they? יציאת מצרים, if you remember, מצוות עשה מן התורה, כנגד חג המצות, שבו יצאו ממצרים. Obviously, מצרים is מצה. מצה חג הפסח. מתן תורה, we got the Torah, obviously, it's חג השבועות. Zichirat Amalek, who connected Chag HaSukkot. What's the connection? In Chag HaSukkot and Amalek, Chag HaSukkot is the Alanei HaKavod. Amalek was only able to attack us because the Alanei HaKavod wasn't protecting us all the way. This is called Ve'yizanev Becha. They took us from the back, like a tail. As it says, Amalek Hayab Mizanev. Amalek was like, they were spying after us. They were always looking to attack us. They couldn't attack us. The Alanei HaKavod was taking us from the back, from the zana, from the tail. The horeg kol nechet shalim. Who would they kill? The weak ones, the ones the Alanei HaKavod would spit out. Otam shelo yu Alanei HaKavod mekablan. But Alanei HaKavod is Sukkot. And what's Miriam? She dibra Moshe daltura. She spoke about Moshe lashon hara. Who connected Rosh Hashanah? She'as kol ha-mekatregim va-dilturim mit'orerim. Miriam, the fourth remembrance, is connected Rosh Hashanah. Because Rosh Hashanah is when all the satanim, they speak lashon hara about us. So therefore, it's a great word, by the way. Do it in a place. Say, what are the four remembrance? Can I wish for? Kvar yadat hakim Miriam ha'yisod kol hadinim. And Miriam, the word Miriam is mar. Mar at how do you say it? Bitter. From the shirt, the halashon mar. The halashon gives mar things. Amnam Yom HaKippurim. How about Yom Kippur? It's written in the Torah. This is part Parashah, Pshat Emor. Nikar Shabbaton. Eino Michal HaMoadim. It's not part of the Moadim. Ki en ben Shabbat leYom HaKippurim. There's no difference between Shabbat and Yom Kippur. Shezed Zedoro Beikarev. There's a Miskila. Shabbat and Yom Kippur have the same halachot, except this one, if you do an Avera on purpose, it's karet. That's without witnesses. And this one, it's with skila. I made a mistake. On Shabbat, if there's witnesses, it's what? Skila. Yom Kippur, karet. The Chanukah Purim, hem d'Rabanan, it's d'Rabanan, they're not part of the Moadim. So once again, we have Yetziat Mitzrayim, the first Zechira, Keneged Chag HaPesach. Matan Torah, Keneged Shavuot. Chag HaAtzeret. You have Miriam, Keneged Rosh Hashanah. Zichrat and Amalek, Keneged Chag HaSukkot. Okay? Those are the four knafot we have. He doesn't tell us which kanaf is Keneged which thing, but I'm assuming Pesach and Sukkot are the right kanaf, Keneged HaChasadim. And Rosh Hashanah and Matan Torah is Keneged the left kanafot, in my opinion. I don't know. It's just my chidush. I don't know if it's true. We have to look into it. Nun gimel. Hine gimel zechirot anu meskirim atakam. We remember 3 things. Now he's saying gimel. Before it was 4. Let's see what he says. Mitzrayim naskirota besof tzitzit. When we read Vayomer Hashem and Moshe, we're gonna say physically with our mouth, Yetziat Mitzrayim, right? Matan Torah tzarich lemuz ota b'omercho uvanu b'charta mikolam. When you say the words, so bring the Avodah Kodesh. I'll show you in the Sidur where he's gonna say everything. Okay. So if you're looking the Avodah Kodesh, this is the it's kavarot pshutot, but still it's something big. In the Avodah Kodesh, when you look at Ahavat Olam before Shema, so you see, it says over here, Ma'arba kanfot, he put in the parentheses kol haaretz, ushvor ol hagoyim ma'atzavarenu v'chulei v'keraftanu malkeinu. What's v'keraftanu malkeinu? You brought us closer to you. In the small words, lekayem mitzar ma'amad har Sinai. That's not from his mind he brought that. That's from the words of the Ari HaKadosh and Shar Kavanot. L'shimcha hagadol, what is shimcha hagadol? Amalek, we try to break the shmo hagadol. So we're remembering Amalek and l'shimcha hagadol. Be'ahava le'odot lach. With love to remember you. That's to remember lehodot, bapeh. How do you do hodah bapeh? Miriam didn't do that. She used the peh against Moshe. So those are the 3 remembers. Mitzrayim, where do we remember it? Bapeh. We remember it in Vayomer Hashem. In the Shema Yisrael, in Kriyat Shema, we already say Mitzrayim, so we don't need to hint it in the words. But in Ahavat Olam, you have 3 remembrances. If you see something here interesting, because over here, Le'yachetcha, he also adds Maaseh HaEgel. I don't think that's from Shar HaKavanot. I think it's from Kriyat Tzachayim, if I'm not mistaken. But that was added there later. It's not from Shar HaKavanot. Let's read it inside from the Ari HaKadosh. Matan Torah tzarich le'emuz ota b'omcha ubana b'chayim mikolam v'keraftanu malkeinu. Once again, l'shimcha hagadol be'ahava. Remember on Shabbat, we spoke about Mavi Goel Livnei B'nei Leman Shemo be'ahava. At the end, because that's the sentence of the Geulah, anybody who's interested to know how's the Geulah going to happen, Leman Shemo, it's not going to be Leman Shemenu, or Leman Avodateinu, or Leman anything that we do, Leman Shemo, he's going to do it for his Shem, his Malchut that's Mitchalel, that means his Shem that's being Mitchalel in the world, Leman Shemo, Be'ahava it's going to be. The Anshe Knesset HaGdolah could have written Leman Shemo Be'yir'ah, Leman Shemo B'pachad. There is inside some of the tefillot the word pachad over there too, like in Rosh Hashanah, v'chule. But he chose to write over there Leman Shemo Be'ahava. So too over here, when we say the Keraftanu Malkeinu, the whole Ma'amad Har Sinai was L'shimcha Hagadol Be'ahava. At the end, it's going to happen Be'ahava. So sometimes, we're in a Bet HaKnesset and we see something that's not to our taste, and we say, listen, it's not Leman Shemo. But it brings us not to Ahava. It brings us to Yir'ah, and to the worst case scenario, to Sin'ah. That's not Leman Shemo. No matter what you say, that's just a fact. Even though, halachically speaking, you might be right, but there is a saying in Hebrew, Al tiyeh tzodek, tiyeh chacham. Don't be right, be smart. Because 2,000 years we're in Galut, in 2,000 years it didn't change anything we did. And we had Rishonim, we had Acharonim, what? In the Beit Yosef's Bet Knesset, he didn't have 10 tzaddikim. He had 80 Talmidim that were Gedolei Olam, the Maritats, Maritrani, all the Gedolei Olam were in his place. The Ari HaKadosh didn't have all the Gedolei Olam. The Rashash didn't have, the Chida didn't have. And it's unfortunate, sometimes the Torah brings us to kitzoniut, to extremism. And that's not going to bring the Geulah. Leman Shemo Be'ahava. Yes, we have to teach what's right and what's wrong, but at the end it shouldn't bring us to Sin'ah, only to Ahava. Vayichan Yisrael Sham Neged Ari. That's just the truth. We say, should we change the Lashon of the Tefillah? Should we change it? It says Leman Shemo, and he does it Be'ahava. It's a double shayla. Why? First of all, he doesn't do it lama'anenu at the end of the day. It's lama'an shemo. And second, it's be'ahava. If you're already doing it, do it. Yeah, show the power. No, be'ahava, he does it at the end of the day. Because what Hashem wants to do is to show his gdula. And gdula, as you say in Ve'varech David, he doesn't bring it down in Torah Da'ava. It says, Ve'varech David Hashem nekal. When he says the midos, he doesn't say chesed v'gvura v'tiferet. He says hagdula, he calls it. In the early Mekubalim, it was no chesed. They used to call it gdula. Because a person who could practice chesed, it's called gdula. I was really thinking about this idea this whole week, this past week, not this week. This week just started, but this past week. This Leman Shemo Ba'ava, it's very strong. Now what's more interesting in Leman Shemo Ba'ava, in the word Shemo, the Rashash brings down, Shemo is Gematria Moshe Makolev. You have to think of Moshe Rabbeinu. And also, Leman Shemo, over there, there's also a Gematria of Aharon HaKohen. So why Moshe and Aharon are hinted in the word Shemo, Shemo Ba'ava, in the word Shemo? To teach us that only through two brothers, which is Klal Yisrael, which were all brothers, that have that Havat Chinam, that this one could give into this one. You're my older brother, this one, you're my younger brother, you're the Kohen, okay, you're the leader, and this one give into one another, only then it's going to be Ba'ava. Then Umevi Goel, because we're looking for the Goel, right? Yes or no? Everybody thought in Israel right now is going to be Machaya. The right-wing government came in, that's it, it's going to be... They're going to show the lefties where it comes from. Today they came up with a poll. The right-wing government today gets almost only 50 seats in the Knesset. They just krisa, total krisa. They broke down completely. It's a complete breakdown. Why? Tzviut. Being two-faced. It's not you can't be parv. There's no parv in Avodat Hashem. Understand? Either you're basar or either you're halab. It's just what it is. Either you're kain or you're hevel. The only issue is kain has to learn how to live with hevel.
You can be both.
Hevel knows how to live with kain, by the way. That's his avodah. He's chesed, right? He's gdula, hevel. That's why all the Torah Hasod is in the hands of Hevel, not Kain. The Ariyah Kalush was Mishorish Hevel, right? Rabbi Eliezer Agadol was Mishorish Hevel. Moshe Rabbeinu was Mishorish Hevel. They taught the Kains. Rabbi Eliezer taught Rabbi Akiva, Ari taught Rabbi Chaim Vital, right? But whoever is Mishorish Hevel, they have a much easier connection with the Torah Hasod, with the inner Pnimiyut HaTorah. The Chasadim will fix this world. The Gvurot will only shine in the time of Mashiach Tzidkenu. Right. It's just a mashal, that whole thing. You know, people think, it's so crazy, but it's what it is. What can you do? People learn Pshat, the Gemara, this, that, the Midrashim. Let's say Beit Shammai halacha is going to be in the future. So, Torah is going to change. Because listen, if all the halachot are going to follow Beit Shammai in the future, the whole Gemara is going to change. Because all the Gemarot are Aliba Rabbi Akiva, who's Aliba Rabbi Eliezer Agadol, who's Aliba his Rebbe Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai, who's a Talmud of Hillel Zaken. Even if you tell me Rabbi Eliezer Agadol was Shamoti, Halacha follows him maybe 3-4 times, but the main students are Ben Yochanan ben Zakkai. We're all students of Hillel Zaken considered, right? All of our halachot are Hillel Zaken, right? So what? You're gonna tell me now all the halachot are gonna change the Beit Shammai right now? Is that what the Gemara means? When the Gemara says that all the Moadim, the holidays will change, and it's only gonna be Hanukkah and Purim. Are we supposed to learn that literally? Itmaha. But we say in the Torah, Ledorotam. The Torah is, what's Ledorotam? Forever. I mean, if you're going to tell me the Torah is going to change, what different are you than the Kritmach?
It's not that it didn't exist before. This opinion has
But I'm
existed.
talking, Eleved Dvei true. They all learn Torah from their shorish, but what are we gonna do?
If this opinion has existed, then it's just going to change.
But if you're telling me the mitzvah is gonna change, and suddenly there's gonna be no more Pesach, no more Sukkot, there's only gonna be Hanukkah and Purim, or from now on the halacha is not gonna follow Beit Hillel. For example, in Shabbat, all those 18 things that they were pasking against Beit Hillel, as well as Beit Shammai. What does all the regel have to do with it? What does that have to do with Beit Hillel and Beit Shammai?
Because you just mentioned if Pesach is
okay, nice. You're making the kasha stronger now. So what's the point? What is he saying over here? A person who learns b'pshat, he has no choice because the chachamim has to say, it says in the midrash and this, the Gemara says that's it. It's gonna be mivutal. Whoever learns Torah Tasos, there's no kasha to begin with. What does it mean? Halacha is gonna follow Beit Shammai. It means the shorish of the gvura will be higher than the shorish of the chesed. You understand? And when we say there's going to be no other holidays besides Hanukkah and Purim, all it means is that when we're gonna have the other holidays, it's gonna be for us not even a holiday because it's gonna be obvious for us. Everybody's gonna see the Pesach. It's gonna be like a person goes to work. I have to wake up to go to work. So to Pesach, it's going to be like, I have to bring the Korban Pesach. It's going to be no Chidush in the Avodah. What's going to be the Chidush? Hanukkah and Purim is still going to be a Chidush. But in the case of for example, the halachot, Beit Hillel over Beit Shammai, of course the halakha stays the same. Paskin was Paskin. What does it mean Beit Shammai is going to be over Beit Hillel? But the derech halimud of the gvurot will be higher than the chesed when Mashiach comes. The Sod Vaya Ora Levana, and the light of the moon will be as strong as the Ora Chama. Yeah, that's what it means. But Chas Shalom, the Torah never changes. The Kohanim will stay Kohanim. Holidays will be holidays. Torah never changes. Because if we say it changes, that's when the Kritmachs come in and say, oh, you guys say it changed? We also say it changed. Yeah, the New Testament. Yeah, they're gonna say Chas v'Shalom is each other. You're giving them a bitchon pe l'ra'ah. A person, like one time Rabbi Akiva was learning Torah with Rabbi Yossi HaGilili, and they were talking about Midrashim. Remember, Rabbi Akiva is Avi Kabbalah because he's the Rebbe of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and he says a pshat in the Midrash. So Rabbi Yossi says, do me a favor, if you don't know how to learn Midrash, go to the Halacha. Go back to the Iyun in the Halacha. Not everybody could express themselves in Sod. It's very hard because they're just very dry. Their mind is dry. They're turkey. You understand? But some people, their mind is like thick, juicy basar. It's able to bring in all the juices. It's able to, so too with the Ari and Chaim Vital. The Ari said, I cannot teach Torah Tasod. I can't write it down. I just can't do it. But Chaim Vital had the ability to do it. He had a special neshama. He had a special neshmaya. Not everybody has that ability. Why do we celebrate Lag BaOmer? For example, let me just send one message real quick. Why do we celebrate Lag BaOmer? Lag BaOmer is not the real. We don't know when Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai passed away. There is. That's a nice teretz. Nobody knows. There is a typo in one of the pre-Etzachaims. The pre-Etzachaim of the Ari HaKadosh, he didn't write it. Rav Meir Papirash wrote it. When he wrote it, it was published because he was Ashkenazi. He went to Poland a couple of times. Rav Yaakov Koppel was Sofer. Anyways, it came out in 3 different Mahadurot editions. And one Mahadurah, it seemed like he wrote over there, it says Yom HaHilulah. From there came out all the balagan. What made it stronger is that in one of the places in Sefer Chezionot, Rav Chaim Vital said, I remember that my Rebbe was going to. It's being recorded. I remember my Rebbe went with his son before he knew him. He went with his son to Rabbi Shimon to do chalakeh. and he was there on Lag BaOmer. So there was a lot of balagan, but whoever knows a little Ketuviyat manuscripts knows that Lag BaOmer is not the real Yortzeit of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. There is no real source that Lag BaOmer is the Yortzeit of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Elama. There is the Ari HaKadosh that says on Lag BaOmer was revealed the Chasadim, the Chesed, that was mematek all the death that happened throughout the first 33 days of the Omer. You understand? So there is no real source for that. A lot of shibushim happened because they didn't learn the right manuscripts. So too, a person who doesn't know Sod, he also comes up with a lot of weird stuff. If you learn the real stuff, you don't know. So why do we celebrate Lag BaOmer? Why do we celebrate it? There's a book called Shivchei Ha'ari, whose sources are also not in such great places. It was written, most of the stories in the book, Stories of the Ari HaKadosh, were written by a rabbi called Rav Naftali Hertz Bachrach. You already know from his name, he's Ashkenazi. And in his book, he writes over there, Emek HaMelech, that one day the Ari HaKadosh went on Lag BaOmer to Meron. So first of all, he went there on Lag BaOmer. So that means there is something connected to that day. There has to be a connection. And there was a rabbi there. He was his shamash. His name was Rav Avram Alevi. Yeah, Rav Avram Alevi. And every day he would read Nachem. In Tisha B'Av, we had a special prayer, Hashem should comfort us. And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai told the Ari to tell him, because you said, Nachem, on my day, you're going to be comforted very soon. Like he made a pigam, a blemish on that day that's supposed to be a happy day for him. And his son passed away not long after that, and he was comforted by Avelim, by the people who come in Achamav. So we see that there is something on that day. We don't know exactly, did he finish the Zohar, did he write the Zohar? We make a bonfire because of the light of the Zohar. There is some connection to that day in Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. We don't know what exactly it is. But we do know on that day, the Ari says, on Lag BaOmer, he doesn't say the day of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's passing, but he writes over there, on this day is Megala already the Mituk Hadinim of the Omer, which is very big. Because if we say all these days of the Shorish of the whole year, and this day is the Chasadim, that means this day is the turnaround of the...
But the Omer still continues.
The Omer still continues, but right now we're going up. We were going down, tough times, people are this, that, Ba'ayot, you know?
That's the halfway point.
We passed the halfway mark, we passed the hard way mark, I call it. On Lag BaOmer, okay? So therefore we celebrate Lag BaOmer as a day now. It's not for nothing people said it's Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's day, so there's some Mekubalim that say, since people pegged it as his day, it has to be there's some connection over there. Now, people come on Lag BaOmer, they eat basar, they just that. What can we do? We're Amei Ha'aratzim. The only way we could enjoy is through eating, drinking, and shratz, as they say, Chas v'shalom. Sorry. But the true Lag BaOmer, you know how they used to celebrate it back then? 3 days before Lag BaOmer, they would go to Har Meron, set up a tent on the mountain. It's a mountain. You guys ever been there? It's a mountain. And they would learn Zohar for 3 days straight. And on Lag BaOmer, they would come, they would do hakafot on the mountain, and they would ask for the Geulah.
They want to do bonfires?
Huh? We don't see that Ari HaKadosh ever did a bonfire. We don't see here such a thing. Listen, it's an accepted thing today to do such a thing, but we don't really see that that's how they celebrated by going to Har Meron and learning the Idra Rabbah and the Idra Zuta for 3 days straight. And they would come out of there with crazy hasagot. They would write chidushim down. You see, the hasaga is revealed in many different ways. Now, you don't have to be a navi to have a hasaga. You have to, suddenly your mind is so engrossed in the Torah, you can suddenly come with new chidushim, new things. You grow in the Torah, new chumrot. You come more close connected to Hashem. That's what used to happen to them. Okay, and it was a Yom Simcha. Okay, that which people make it today, Yom Seudah. That's already, en ma lasot. That's just the nature of people today. Even when I went to Lag BaOmer back in the Rav Salman Mutzafi, the student Rabbi Daftai, when he went to Lag BaOmer, he said he went once in his life to Meron. He said, I'm never going back again. This was, I'm talking 70, 80 years ago. He said, I'm never going again. When I went, listen, there was techno music over there, this, that, people dancing together in the base of the mountain. It was a sakanat nefashot, and we know, you saw it happen. It wasn't last year, 2 years ago, right? It was 2 years ago. 45 people were trampled to death. It was a very big, 45, 46? 45. Okay, let's finish the last thing over there. Let's finish, we're in Nun Gimel, yeah? No, we passed Nun Gimel.
No, we didn't finish.
We didn't finish, okay. So when we're saying that, when we say the tzitzit, Ahavat Olam, when we say Arba Kanfot Kol Haaretz, we see over here in the dark book, it's page 142, right? You gotta take all your tzitzits, all four sides, and bring it to your heart in your left hand. Dafka the left, not the right, even though you're a lefty, but you have to hold it to the left. You have to do it in the left. Not that tzitziot itself, you have to hold the shorish of them.
We finished.
Right? We did it in the Gimel, right? And when we say there's four things we say, you have to remember four remembrances every day. What are they? The Kiraftanu Malkeinu, you have to remember Har Sinai. The Shimcha Hagado, you have to remember Amalek. Be'ahava, with love, obviously. Lehodot Lach, to praise you. Miriam, who didn't use her mouth to praise Hashem. Uleachetcha, this is already in addition. I don't know where it's from. I think it's from the Priyat Chayim. You have to remember the golden calf every day. Lira olavat shemecha baruch ata Hashem habocher ba'amo Yisrael be'ahava. Okay, every day you gotta think. If you want to see it inside the book, page 142. If you want to see it inside, okay. Let's do one more, then we'll call it a day. Okay. Okay. Gam. Kodem shetomar Shema Yisrael. Before you say Shema Yisrael, Tizgor bet enecha beyad yimincha. It says even to a lefty, by the way. You have to use your right hand. Right? Now when it says Tizgor enecha beyad yimincha, what does that mean? Some people go like this, like a shakai. Right? They do a shakai, right? Shin, Dalet, Yud. Right? Shakai. That's not from the Ari HaKadosh. Ari just says, close your eyes like this. That's what he says. אתה לא ידעת את זה. ידעת את זה.
No,
ידעת.
why some people don't close their eyes?
Huh?
Some people don't close their eyes.
That was doing the kavanot. When you're doing kavanot, listen, you want to close your eyes, but you got to look at the kavanot. Nothing you can do about it. But in general, if you close your eyes, either they do a shakai or either they close like this. Can or no? So people who do like this, that's not from the Ari. You should know that. That's already, I don't know which one of the Acharonim came up with that. According to the Ari, you just close your eyes with your right hands. Zil. ותקבל אל מה שכתוב בסבא דמשפטים, have כוונה what's written in the Zohar, פרשת משפטים. ולמתה שפיר תדד לעיינים, you're having כוונה to fix the young maiden that has no eyes. ובידך השמאלית האחוז, now with your left hand you're still holding the tzitzit. Right? So with your left hand, you're holding your tzitzit. With your right hand, you're closing your eyes. You're connecting to the malchut. The malchut, the mashal. It's a mashal. It doesn't have the ability to see. That's why in Shema, we're fixing the malchut, so we close our eyes. What does that mean? The malchut doesn't have the ability to see. The partsufim of the nukva, the shechina, in Kabbalistic literature, learning. The fifth partsuf, which is connected to a woman, doesn't have the ability to have foresight. They don't have foresight. They cannot do 2 and 2. What's going to happen in the future? They don't have that ability. Men, Za, the fourth system, which can get the chesed to yisod, they have the ability to see in the future. This is what I'm going to do now. I know it's going to have a ripple effect. Women don't have that ability. They live for the now. Right now I need to enjoy. Right now I need to do this. In Shema, by covering our eyes and saying Shema, when we're fixing the malchut, we're bringing back the aynin to the malchut.
Bringing back what?
The aynin. The ability. It's an ability to have foresight. Bringing her to Ora Chochmah. That's why, maybe I showed you guys inside. thinking which Sidur. Let me get to you guys. Yeah, okay. So this is a Shacharit and Musaf of Shabbat of the Sidur HaRashash. Now I'm going to tell you, show you guys something really crazy over here. I hope you guys will appreciate it because this is something you're not going to learn in your life.
Secret of secrets.
I wouldn't call it a secret, but it's a secret. It's all relative. Look in Shema how the Rashash writes the Yud Kei Vav Kei. You guys see that? See how he writes the Yud Kei Vav Kei? What does it look like? Yud Kei Vav Kei in the form of eyes. Why does he do that?
Yeah, that's the selection.
Look how many are there. 1, 2, 3. Anyway, the whole Shema, it's all Yud Kei Vav Keis in the form of eyes. Why does he do that? Because Le'ah and Rachel, which is the mashal for the Shekhinah, let la'aynin. By having the kavanah in Shema, you're bringing back the aynin. You're trying to give the malchut the ability to have an ayin. That's the secret. Ve'enei le'ah rakot. Leah couldn't see.
Oh wow.
Understand? Because the partsuf of Leah is a very important partsuf. It's a partsuf of Talmud Torah. Also, Rachel doesn't have aynin. Doesn't even talk about her ayin. It just says Leah Rachel ayta yefat toar v'yefat mar. It doesn't say anything about Rachel's eyes. Because the fifth partsuf. That's why when a man follows his wife's advice in the house, you're going into something blind. You should know that. There's no foresight. But when she follows the husband, she's going into chokhmah. Now, sometimes you need that bina, but not when it's something that has a future effect. Because let la'aynin, as the Ari writes over there. Huh? There's no foresight. That's why it says Hashem b'chokhmah yasad aretz. Hashem uses the chokhmah to build the malchut, the eretz, because she's missing the chokhmah. That's why women, they talk a lot, because they have no chokhmah. And what do we say in Pirkei Avot? Siag lechokhmah shtika. Who's usually the shatkan in the house? The guy, because he has chokhmah. He may miss bina. Women have bina yetera. They have extra bina, but the missing of the chokhmah causes a lot of issues. How to balance that? That's the question. Everybody has to know how much bina the other side has, how to balance their bina. Sometimes the bina is volatile, sometimes it's not. Sometimes you can have chokhmah, but not like but in tefillah we work in it in Shema Yisrael. That's when we work with it. In the Shema itself, that's when we work with the ulim. It's called ulimta shapirta, the beautiful maiden, because the malchut is beautiful. The midah of malchut is a very beautiful midah, because it has all the midot. It's like the ocean. It has everything inside. So remember we learned in Sharia Ora, it's the ocean. It has all the beings of the world. The Gemara says the ocean has all the beings in the world. Whatever is in land is the same thing in the ocean. The valet la'aynin. En lahim enayin. Ube'atcha with your left hand, tochaz arba tzitziot, hold the 4 tzitziot, which are on your left. גם קודם שתאמר קריאת שמע, צריך שתכוון אל מצוות עשה, שהצטווינו לקרוא קריאת שמע, בית פעמים יכולים, every time you're going to say Shema Yisrael, remember, you have to have kavanah, before, pashut kavanah. I'm mekayim right now, a mitzvah from the Torah, to say Shema twice a day. When you do this kavanah, the Rashash writes over there, you're fixing, basically you're scraping off the nachash. Whatever the nachash has a hold on your neshama, by having this kavanah, you're scraping it off. It's a very important thing. Now, when you say Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, when you say the word Malchuto, you have to put down your head a little bit. Malchuto tzarich lashpil rosho milamala lemata. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto leolam. I don't know if you guys ever look at me when I'm saying it, but I always put my head down a bit when I say Malchuto. Look at the word. If you look in the dark book, page 145, it says right. בתיבת מלכותו ישפיל ראשו. It's a little bit, ישפיל מלכותו, to make the action a bit. Yeah. ודיברת בם, תכוון אל בם is אותיות, מ"ב 42, תיבות שבפרשת שמע והוא סוד שם בן מב שהוא בגר. So you see, ודיברת בם, if you look at this, you see 146 ודיברת בם, you see all the letters, you see that? Look what he writes over here. בפרשה זו, in this parasha, יש מ"ב תיבות. There are 42 words, not אותיות, תיבות. Look at the top. ויתקן לכוון שם abad יתץ. To fix the name of Abba, because it's the first. The first is the most important. Haramuz b'parasha, so v'ahavta is aleph. Et, bet. And so on and so forth. And like this, there's 42 words. You're fixing the 42 letter of Hashem's name. Okay? 42 name of Hashem has the name of Hashem has 42 letters. But in the V'hayayim Shamoa, until the word V'samtam, there's Ab Tevo, there's 72 letters, which is Shem Ab. Look at the V'haya. If you look at the book, exactly, it says over here, Ab Shemot. V'haya, Vav Hey Vav. Im, Yud Lamed Yud. These are all the 72 letters name of Hashem. Okay? Until the word, which word? V'samtem. That's what he writes here. Ad V'samtem, right. So you see, once it gets V'samtem, the last letter of Hashem's 72 letter name is Mem Vav Mem. And then it already gets to something else. Aleph K Yud K, Aleph K Yud K, Aleph K Yud K, and 148. But V'samtem is the last word. V'hu Sod Shema, V'hu Begimel Imtziot Deza, it's the Chagat Deza. וגם זה תכוון במילת עשב, שם אותיות אב שין. When you say עשב בשדך, עשב is אותיות, the letters of Ab, 72, Shin. What's Shin? Shin is 3 heads. Those 3 heads are the Chagat of Za. Gimel Kaveh Shin, ובהם Ab Shemot V'Yisa V'Yavo V'Yed, and the 72 letters of Hashem's name are hinted in the Shin of the Esev, in the Parashat Shema, and like this you're metaken the Chagat, Chesed Givurot Tiferet of Za. In V'Ahavta you're fixing the Gar of Za, Chokhmah Bina and Da'at. In V'Haya you're fixing the Chagat of Za, and then he's going to explain, we're going to do next week with Hashem, in Vayomer we're going to fix the Nahi of Za. Netzachod Yesod. So in Parashat Shema you fix the whole system. And you're ready to go into Shmona Yisrael. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen.